I poisoned his coffee that morning. Not with arsenic or some dramatic toxin from a spy novel, but with the slow drip of truth serum disguised as his favorite black roast, watching his pupils dilate as the words I'd buried for years spilled from his lips like bile. He'd framed me for embezzlement 3 years ago, laughing in the shadows while I rotted in a federal holding cell, my life savings funneled into his offshore accounts like water down a drain. And now, as the city sirens wailed below our penthouse window, I realized revenge wasn't about the kill, it was about making him beg for the cage I'd clawed my way out of. New York never sleeps, they say. But that Tuesday in July, it felt like the whole damn city was holding its breath, waiting for me to snap. I remember the heat wave clinging to my skin like a bad memory. The kind that makes you question if summer in Manhattan is just God's way of testing how much sweat a person can wring out before they break. I'd been out of prison for exactly 6 months. Paroled early on good behavior, ironic, considering the crime wasn't mine. My name's Poppy Harlan, and if you Google me, you'll find the headlines, Tech Darling turns fraudster, Harlan sentenced in $2 million scheme. Yeah, that was me. The fall guy in a story that read like a Wall Street soap opera. But the real villain? That was Ethan Caldwell, my ex-partner. Ex-loved. And the snake who'd slithered his way into every corner of my life. We'd met 5 years back at a rooftop mixer in Soho, the kind where venture capitalists mingle with wide-eyed entrepreneurs over overpriced gin and tonics. I was 28, fresh off a bootstrapped app that turned user data into personalized workout plans, nothing revolutionary. But it scaled fast in the fitness craze post-pandemic. Ethan was 32, all sharp jawline and sharper suits. A hedge fund bro who'd pivoted to tech investing because disrupting sounded sexier than day trading meme stocks. He cornered me by the skyline view, his hand brushing mine as he passed a drink. Poppy Harlan, he'd said, like he'd rehearsed it. Your algorithm's got legs. But it needs teeth. Let me show you how to bite. 3 months later, we were partners. Harlan Caldwell Innovations. We called it. I handled the code and the vision. He charmed the investors, turning our seed round into a Series A bonanza. Nights blurred into code sprints and champagne toasts. His loft in Tribeca becoming our unofficial HQ. Sex was the glue, raw, urgent, the kind that leaves marks. He'd whisper promises against my neck. We're building an empire. Pop. You and me against the world. I believed him. Hell, I loved him for it. But love in New York is like real estate. Location matters. And Ethan's heart was always one zip code ahead. The betrayal hit like a subway derailment, sudden and ugly. It started with whispers in board meetings, discrepancies in the books, funds vanishing into marketing consults that traced back to Ethan's cousin in the Caymans. I confronted him one rain-lashed evening in his office, the city lights smearing like watercolor on the glass. Ethan, this isn't right. The audits. He cut me off with a kiss, then pulled back, eyes cold as the Hudson in winter. Trust me, Poppy. It's handled. You're the face of this. I can't afford the scrutiny. Scrutiny. That's when I should have run. But I didn't. Instead, I covered for him. When the feds came knocking, I confessed to the whole damn thing. Falsified ledgers, ghost accounts, the works. Why? Because he'd sworn it was a one-time glitch, a desperate play to keep us afloat after a bad investor pullout. Take the hit for me. Pop, he'd begged, his voice cracking over the phone from some undisclosed spot in Miami. I'll make it right. We'll disappear together once the heat dies. Stupid. Naive. I was the loyal dog, fetching his sins while he packed his bags. Court was a circus. The judge, a grizzled vet from Brooklyn with no patience for Silicon Valley sob stories, slammed the gavel on 30 months federal time. Ethan testified against me, painting himself as the duped idealist. She was brilliant, Your Honor. But ambition twisted her. The jury ate it up. White-collar crime sells better when the perp's a pretty redhead with a Harvard dropout story. My parents, God rest them, had died in a car wreck 2 years prior, no one to rally the troops. I shipped off to Danbury in handcuffs. My company dissolved. My name toxic in every VC Rolodex from here to the valley. Prison? It's not the hellhole movies make it. But it's a grinder. Days bled into therapy circles and GED classes for inmates who never got the shot. I learned to knit. Of all things, scarves for the holiday drive. My fingers flying over needles like they once did code. But mostly, I plotted. Ethan thought he'd won. He'd absorbed the remnants of our IP through a shell corp, flipping it for 8 figures. Forbes called him the Phoenix of FinTech. Me? I was the ash heap. Parole came courtesy of a pro bono lawyer, sniffing redemption points. Good behavior and a clean record, she said. But I knew the truth. The warden's soft spot for reformed white-collar types. Back in the city, I crashed on a cousin's couch in Queens, dodging pity stares and LinkedIn blocks. First order, a burner phone and a deep dive into Ethan's digital footprint. The man was sloppy vain, Instagram flexes from his New Hamptons pad, LinkedIn humble brags about scaling ethically. But I found the cracks. Emails to his new flame, a live influencer named Sierra, boasting about the bitch who took the fall. Photos of him yachting with Saudi princes, our old app rebranded as Caldwell Pulse. That's when the plan crystallized. Not some B-movie hit. Ethan was too insulated for that. No. I'd dismantle him from the inside, thread by thread. I started small, a fake profile on a freelancer's site, posing as a ghost coder for hire. Bit by bit, I wormed into his ecosystem, patching bugs in Pulse's backend, invisible as a shadow. He never knew. Why would he? I was the ghost of girlfriends past. By month 4, I had access. Not just code, servers, emails, even his smart home cams. The man lived like a king. Automated blinds, voice-activated whiskey pours, a fridge that ordered caviar on command. I watched him, night after night. Sierra draped over him like a throw pillow, oblivious to the noose tightening. The first strike was subtle, a glitch in his investor portal, siphoning micro-fees into a wallet I'd buried under layers of crypto mixers. $5,000 here, 10 there, peanuts to him. But it added up. He blamed cyber threats from China, ramping up security that only gave me more doors to knock on. Then came the personal touch. I remembered his tells, the way he'd twitch when cornered, the bourbon habit that loosened tongues. That's how I ended up in his kitchen that muggy morning, posing as the new barista from his artisanal delivery service. The doorman waved me up. Ethan's vanity extended to his coffee order. Black. Scalding. With a whisper of cinnamon. I stirred in the vial. Nothing lethal. Just a designer nootropic I'd sourced from a chem head in Brooklyn, tweaked to mimic a truth serum. FDA unapproved. Sure. But who was checking? He shuffled in at 7:15. Robe askew. Hair tousled like he'd invented bedhead. Morning, Mr. Caldwell, I murmured, keeping my back turned, voice pitched low and anonymous. He grunted, grabbing the mug without a glance. First sip, and he paused, savoring. This hits different. What's your secret? I slid the tray aside, finally facing him, makeup heavy, hair dyed brunette. But those eyes? Unmistakable. His mug froze midair, coffee sloshing. Poppy? What the foo? Sit, I said, calm as a loaded gun. The serum kicked in fast, dilated pupils, slack jaw. He dropped into a chair, sputtering denials that melted into confessions. The money trail. The Miami escape. How he'd laughed with his lawyers over my pathetic loyalty.
Sierra?
Just arm candy. The Real Prize was a senator's daughter lined up for the next merger. I recorded it all on a hidden mic. The city awakening below us like it didn't care. By 8 a.m., he was sweating,
Begging.
Poppy.
Please.
It was business. You understand business. I leaned in, close enough to smell the fear on him.
Oh.
I do. And business is about leverage. I left him there, trembling, the recording uploaded to a dead man switch that would ping every major outlet if I didn't check in daily. Step 1. Exposure.
But revenge?
That's a 5-course meal. And we were just sipping appetizers. The days blurred into a fevered dream of cat and mouse. Ethan lawyered up fast, NDAs flying like confetti at a bad wedding. He tried buying me off $50K wired to an account I let him think was mine. I funneled it straight to a victim's fund for white-collar fraud, anonymous as sin. Sierra dumped him via text. I might have nudged that with a leaked voice note of him trash-talking her trust fund glow-up. The press circled like sharks. Bloomberg ran Phoenix or fraud. Caldwell's past bites back. He denied it all. Of course, painting me as the unhinged ex seeking payback. Fair play. I'd have done the same. But I wasn't done. Digging deeper, I uncovered the real rot. Ethan's glitch hadn't been a one-off. Back when we were partners, he'd been running a side hustle, insider tips to his hedge fund buddies, using our user data to front-run trades. Illegal as hell.
SCB.
I'd shielded him without knowing, my confession burying the evidence.
Now?
I had the logs. Timestamps syncing his emails to market dips. One leak to the right whistleblower site, and his empire would crumble like a house of cards in a wind tunnel. I holed up in a walk-up in the East Village, walls papered with printouts and screens glowing like digital fireflies.
Nights.
I'd walk the bridges, the East River churning black under sodium lights, wondering if this was justice or just spite dressed up fancy. Ethan's messages piled up, please turning to threats, then back to please. We can fix this.
Pop.
Like old times. Old times. The ones where he'd fuck me on the conference table after closing a deal. Whispering empires. Yeah.
Those.
The tension ratcheted when he showed at my door. Unannounced. 2 goons in ill-fitting suits flanking him like discount Secret Service. Rain hammered the awning outside, turning the street into a river. We need to talk, he growled. But his eyes darted, nervous. Not commanding. I let him in, the goons waiting like obedient dogs. The apartment smelled of takeout, lo mein, and desperation. You think this ends with a tweet storm? He hissed, pacing my threadbare rug. I built this. You were along for the ride. Along for the ride? I laughed, bitter as black coffee. I wrote the code that made you millions. I took the rap while you sipped my ties. He stopped, face twisting. Regret? Or calculation? That's Ethan. Always 3 moves ahead. Until he's not. I loved you.
Poppy.
In my way. Bullshit. But it stung. We argued for hours, voices rising over the storm, until one of his goons pounded the wall, yelling about noise complaints. In the end, he left with nothing but my silence, the door slamming like a guillotine. That night, I hit send on the first big drop, anonymized docs to ProPublica, painting Ethan's trades in shades of gray that screamed felony. The story broke at dawn. Fintech mogul accused of data theft in bombshell leak. His stock tanked 40% before lunch. I watched from a diner in Midtown, nursing eggs over easy, the TV above the counter blaring his denial presser. He looked wrecked, ties askew, eyes hollow. Good. Let him taste the cage. But revenge is a jealous mistress. As the feds reopened my case, subpoenaing Ethan for new evidence, I felt the walls closing. His lawyers circled me next, offering immunity if I'd recant. Vindictive X, they called it in filings. Friends, the few left, urged me to stop. You're becoming him. Pop, my cousin said over burner calls.
Was I?
The line between avenger and villain blurs when you're knee-deep in the mud. By week's end, Ethan vanished. Private jet to Dubai.
Whisper said.
I had eyes on his accounts, every ping, every wire. He was running.
But to where?
That's when the twist hit, an encrypted email. Bounced through Tor. From an address I recognized.
Sierra.
He's not what you think,
It read.
Meet me. Alone. Controversy brewed. Was she ally or trap? I had to decide.
And fast.
As the city pulsed on, indifferent to the storm I'd unleashed. Dubai glittered like a fever dream under the desert sun. All gold-plated excess and air-conditioned malls that made Manhattan feel quaint. I touched down on a red-eye from JFK. Passport stamped fresh under my alias, Elena Voss, marketing consultant, courtesy of a forger in Hell's Kitchen who'd owed me a favor from the Knitting Circle days. Ethan's trail led here, a shell company condo in the Burj Khalifa, the kind of place where billionaires park dirty money and mistresses. Sierra's email had been a lure. Sure. But curiosity's a hell of a drug.
Plus,
I had contingencies, poison pen backups set to drop if I ghosted for 48 hours. The meet was at a hookah lounge off Sheikh Zayed Road, the air thick with apple tobacco and oud incense that clung to my sundress like regret. Sierra waited in a corner booth, veiled in designer silk, her influencer poise cracked just enough to show the strain. Up close, she was younger than the gram filter suggested, 24. Tops. With eyes like a deer in luxury headlights. Poppy, she said.
No, Elena.
Sliding a frappé across the low table. Or should I say, the ghost who haunts.
Iset.
Scanning for wires or tails. None. Cut the poetry. What's his play? She exhaled smoke. Rings glinting. Turns out, Sierra wasn't the arm candy. She was the accomplice. Ethan had recruited her a year post-bust, feeding her lines about the crazy ex to keep her loyal. But cracks formed when the leaks hit his rages, the coke-fueled nights where he'd mutter my name like a curse. He said you stole from him first, she confessed, voice low. That you doctored the code to skim investor funds. Was it true? Lies layered on lies. I'd never skimmed a dime. My clean audit proved that. Sealed away in prison lockers. But Sierra's doubt mirrored the public's. The leaks had muddied waters. Anonymous forums buzzing with both sides' takes. Was Poppy the victim or the viper? Ethan, ever the chameleon, flipped the script. Now I was the obsessive stalker. Him, the reformed family man. Sierra bought it at first, until she found his retirement fund, our old user data, peddled to dark web brokers for identity theft rings. He's selling souls.
Poppy.
Including mine. Alliance formed over mint tea and mutual hate. She had access, his trophy got keys to the kingdom. After all. We plotted in whispers. I'd feed her intel from my hacks. She'd plant trackers in his devices. First target, the condo safe, stuffed with flash drives of unlaundered trades. Dubai's lax on extradition, but the UAE's cracking down on cyber fraud, one FATF tip, and Ethan's gilded cage becomes a black site. Back stateside, the heat intensified. My parole officer called daily.
Sniffing parole violation.
Travel's a no-go. Harlan. I played dumb, blaming job interviews. Meanwhile, ProPublica's piece snowballed, congressional hearings on data privacy. Ethan's name in the subpoenas. He surfaced in a video from Jumeirah, all tanned and defiant, smear campaign by a disgruntled former associate. I'll fight this in court. The comments section erupted, Team Ethan trending with feminist revenge porn takes, while Justice for Poppy rallied the underdogs. I scrolled it all from a VPN in a Queens laundromat, laundry spinning like my gut. Controversy was the point, make him choose sides, watch the fractures spread. Sierra's first drop came encrypted, schematics for a Cayman trust. Ethan's escape hatch with $4 million earmarked for a new life in Singapore. I mirrored it to the IRS, anonymous whistleblower style. Audit letters rained down, freezing assets. He lashed out dox attempts on me. My cousin's address leaked to tabloids. Harlan's vendetta, from cell block to stalker, splashed the post. I went dark, crashing with an old coder buddy in Brooklyn. His basement a Faraday cage of tinfoil paranoia. That's when the moral rot set in. Late nights, I'd stare at the ceiling, joists creaking like accusations. Was I righting wrongs or just torching the bridge we both swam under? Ethan wasn't pure evil. He'd built something real once. Our app helping thousands track health post-lockdowns. And me? The serum stunt-bordered vigilante, illegal. Sure. But no worse than his frame job. Sierra's texts turned confessional. He cries in his sleep. Calls your name. Part of him misses you. Stockholm or truth? It gnawed, turning revenge into a mirror maze where every reflection lied. We struck next in August, humidity breaking into thunder that shook the skyline. Sierra lured him to a romantic getaway in the Maldives, white sands, overwater bungalows. The works. I flew standby, holed up in Malé, monitoring via her phone cams. The plan, during a sunset booze cruise, she'd spike his scotch with a data leech app, syncing his phone to a burner server. Easy pickings his contacts, a Rolodex of crooked VCs and Pauls who'd greased his wheels. It went south fast. Ethan, paranoid now, swapped drinks at the last second. Sierra played it off, but he smelled rat, confronted her in the bungalow. Voices carrying over the waves on my feed. It's her, isn't it? That psycho's pulling strings. He backhanded her. Not hard, but enough to draw blood. First violence I'd seen from him. Rage boiled. I almost blew cover, booking a seaplane to intervene. But Sierra held. No, baby. It's the stress. She activated the leech anyway. Partial sync grabbing emails tying him to a Ponzi feeder scheme. I pulled the trigger from a cyber cafe in Colombo, docs forwarded to the DOJ, labeled urgent national security risk. Data sales to foreign actors? That escalated from fraud to treason light. Ethan's Maldives idol shattered. Private security whisked him back to Dubai. Sierra sent home for rest. She called me from the airport, voice shaking. He's unhinged.
Poppy.
Talking about ending it all, us. You. Everything. End it all. The words hung,
Heavy as jet lag.
Stateside fallout was biblical. SEC raids on his old offices. Arrests of 2 bored ghosts. Media frenzy peaked. CNN panels debating, is revenge justice? With shrinks calling my tactics, textbook trauma response. I watched from a dive bar in Astoria. Nursing a IPA. The barkeep eyeing my fake ID. A producer slid into my DMs, podcast offer. Your side of the story. Tempting. But exposure's a double blade. I ghosted. Ethan's next move was pure him. Flipped the board. An op-ed in the journal. Ghostwritten, no doubt. Betrayed by my own creation. The Harlan legacy. He spun it poetic. Me as the genius gone rogue. Him the enabler, who enabled too much. Poppy's brilliance birthed pulse. But her demons destroyed it. Public split widened, blue checks hailing his grace, while Reddit threads crowned me folk hero. Controversy crackled. Dinner parties in the Hamptons dissected us like a bad divorce. Sierra vanished after that. Radio silence. Her Insta archived. Worry not. Was she silenced? I hacked her last ping. A clinic in London. Exhaustion. Relief mixed with guilt. Our pact frayed. She texted once. Too deep. Protect yourself. Wise words. But momentum's a train. Hard to jump. September brought the hammer. Feds cleared my name. Full exoneration. Ethan's testimony unraveling under cross like cheap thread. I got a call from my lawyer. Suits yours if you want it. Civil. Criminal tracks open. Vindication tasted like stale champagne.
But Ethan?
Hold up. Lawyer to the gills. Countersuing for defamation and emotional distress. The man who'd framed me now played victim. Classic. I decided on escalation. No more leaks, direct action. Tracked his Dubai bolt hole to a penthouse in JLT. Glass tower piercing the haze. Infiltration, a catering gig for his crisis summit with crisis PR hacks. Disguised as waitstaff, blonde wig. Accent lifted from a Downton binge. I served canapes laced with questions. He didn't recognize me at first. Too busy schmoozing. But when our eyes met over a shrimp skewer, the room tilted. You, he whispered. Fork clattering. We slipped to a balcony. City sprawl baking below. Wind whipped. Carrying salt from the Gulf.
Poppy.
This ends now. His voice cracked fear, not fury. I held up my phone, live streaming to a secure link. Confess. On record. The data sales. The frame. All of it. He laughed.
Hollow.
Or what? You leak more? I'm broke.
Pop.
You've won. Lies. I saw the wire transfers, fresh from a Russian oligarch. The confrontation stretched, minutes feeling hours. He begged. Offered shares in a phantom reboot. We could start over.
You. Me.
Clean slate. Temptation flickered, old fire. Banked but not dead. But then Sierra's face flashed. Bruised. The jury stares, my cell block bunk. Too late, I said, hitting record. He spilled names. Dates. The Ponzi web. When he lunged for the phone, I sidestepped, security bursting in like bad timing. They hauled him off. Not for me, for the tips I'd already fed Interpol. I slipped out amid chaos, heart pounding like a bass drop at output. Victory? Or just the eye of the storm? Back in New York. Exoneration parade waited. Pressers. Book deals whispered. But as I boarded the flight, a text pinged from an unknown. He's not done. Watch your back. Ethan's or Sierra's. The game flipped again. Tension coiling like a spring in the desert night. October in New York hits like a reset button, leaves turning fire orange in Central Park. The air crisp enough to forgive the summer's sins. My exoneration made waves. Front page Times. From fraud to free, Poppy Harlan vindicated. Interviews piled up. I picked 60 Minutes. Figuring Cronkite's ghost would keep it honest. Diane Sawyer's stand-in grilled me soft. What drives a woman to such lengths? I leaned into the lens, unflinching. Betrayal's a debt. I just called it in. Ratings gold,
They said.
but fame's a fickle bitch overnight. I was icon or villain, depending on your feed. Ethan's countersuit landed like a gut punch. $50 million for intentional infliction of distress. His lawyer spun it masterful, me as cyberstalker. Him the battered innovator. Depositions dragged. I lawyered up with a shark from Skadden. Billing hours like heartbeats. Discovery unearthed gold, his therapy notes. Scribbled admissions of manipulative tendencies. But also mine, prison psych evals calling my plans obsessive ideation. Mud fight. Pure American justice. Sierra resurfaced mid-month. A encrypted video call from a Paris flat. She looked gaunt. Chain-smoking Gauloise out a casement window. He's painting me as the mole, she said, exhaling gray veils. Says I conspired with you. Extraditions on the table. Panic edged her voice. France-UAE treaties are ironclad. I coached her, asylum pitch to the States. Whistleblower status. You're clean if you flip full. She nodded, but doubt lingered. What if he's right? What if we're all monsters? That question haunted as I prepped for the hearing. Monster? Maybe. I'd hacked lives, dosed a man, upended innocence in the crossfire, Sierra's career torched. Ethan's staff pink-slipped. But his sins dwarfed, data to scammers who drained retirees' nests, tips that crash small funds. Balance the scales? Hell if I knew. Public ate the drama. Podcasts dissected our toxic tango. Therapists booked solid on revenge recovery. I walked Riverside Drive at dawn. Hudson lapping gray. Wrestling the why. Not just payback. Proof I wasn't the fool he'd made me. The hearing was a three-ring circus in Foley Square. Paparazzi swarming like midges. Ethan took the stand first. Transformed, humble flannel over button-down. Eyes misty, with rehearsal tears. Poppy was my world, he testified, voice pitching earnest. But her rage. It consumed her. I fear for my safety. Gasps rippled. The judge. A no-nonsense Latina from the Bronx. Arched a brow, but let it play. My turn, cool. Clipped. Docs in hand. He framed me to save himself. This suits deflection. Your Honor. He's the architect of his own hell. Cross-exam was knife fight. His attorney. A silver fox with ivy drawl. Hammered. MS. Harlan. You admit to unauthorized access? Drugging Mr. Caldwell. I met his gaze.
Yes.
And he'd admit to felony fraud. If cornered. Jury murmurs. Split down the middle. You could feel it, women leaning my way. Men hedging Ethan's redemption arc. We adjourned to chaos. Me dodging mics. Him air-kissing allies. Post-hearing, the flips started. An old investor, burned by Ethan's Ponzi, reached out. We bankrolled you both.
Now.
Testify against him. I did, one deposition snowballing to class action suits, his empire fracturing like fault lines. But Ethan countered vicious, leaked my prison letters, maudlin pleas for his visits that never came. Desperate. Delusional. Tabloids feasted. Love gone lethal. Friends vanished. Dates ghosted. Isolation crept. The city's hum turning accusatory. Sierra bolted to Canada.
Border hop via Montreal.
I wired her seed money, clean, from book advance rumors. Her last words, finish it. For us. Finish how? Criminal trial loomed. Ethan facing 20+ if convicted. But he lawyered international, stalling extradition, whispering settlements. Rumor mill churned. He'd flip on bigger fish. Cartel VCs laundering through crypto.
Me?
Collateral in the deal. November chill deepened resolve. I went underground again. Sublet in Harlem. Walls alive with news tickers. Hacks evolved, not just Ethan's, his enablers. A VC firm server, ripe with emails tying donations to favors. Leaks timed for Black Friday. Holiday heist, how elites stole your data. Chaos erupted, protests outside NASDAQ. Data thieves trending. Ethan's name topped lists. His Dubai exile turning prison chic. He cracked then. A midnight call to my secure line. Voice slurry. Bourbon thick.
Poppy.
Meet me. Neutral ground. End this madness. Neutral, a private club in Geneva. Neutral as Swiss banks. I flew. Alias intact. Heart a war drum. The club was old-world opulence, mahogany panels. Crystal decanters. Snow dusting the Alps outside. Ethan waited in a leather armchair. Aged a decade. Gaunt under cashmere. No goons, just us. A waiter hovering discreet. We talked circles, apologies laced with barbs. I was scared, he admitted. Swirling scotch. You were the real deal. I couldn't risk you outshining. Truth serum echo. I saw the boy beneath. Ambitious rot eating him hollow. And now, I pressed. He leaned in, eyes fever bright. Partner again. 50-50. We expose them, the real sharks. You get the win. Temptation roared. Team up. Dismantle the network. Us as anti-heroes in a Netflix arc.
But trust?
Shattered glass. I probed. Sierra? He waved it off. Collateral. Like you were. There, the flip. Mask slipping. He lunged for my phone. Same old play. I twisted free. Knee to groin, self-defense 101 from Danbury. Security swarmed. He spat curses as they dragged him. You'll regret this. Poppy, we're the same, were we? Fled to a safe house in Zurich. Pulse racing. The meat? Bait for a wire, Swiss feds. Tipped by me. His confessions taped. Cartel links. Murder whispers, a rival suicided post-tip. Escalation to homicide probe. Back home. Headline screamed, Caldwell's dark web, from fraud to felony. Public cleaved, cheers for my bravery, jeers at my entrapment. Debates raged, vigilante justice or judge, jury, executioner. December dawned bitter. Holidays mocking with twinkling Fifth Avenue storefronts. My civil win came quiet, suit dismissed.
Sanctions on him.
But criminal dragged. Extradition battles in The Hague. Sierra testified remote. Her poise steel. He used me. Like her. Jury watched. Faces masks of judgment.
Me?
Spectator now. The Avenger benched. Twist brewed in the gray. An envelope.
No postmark.
Slid under my door. Inside, photos. Me in Dubai.
Geneva.
Tale? Ethan's? Or worse, internal? A Fed leaking for leverage? Paranoia peaked. I bolted to a cabin upstate. Adirondacks blanketed white. Isolation sharpened focus. Final play. Hacked The Hague feeds. Live testimony prep. Ethan. Prepping his flip. Name me as co-conspirator. Forced by obsession. The snake strikes last. I countered preemptive. Full data dump. Unredacted. To WikiLeaks. The Caldwell files, everything. Unfiltered. Cartels. Suicides. My hacks included. Transparency bomb. Expose all. Including my sins. Fallout. Armageddon for the elite. Subpoenas flying like snow. Ethan's flip died a morning. Implicated too deep. But the mirror cracked. Dumping my crimes? Confession or cleanse? Public roared. Heroes fall or martyrs rise. Forum split. Poppy's purge saves lives. Versus. Self-serving chaos queen. Tension peaked as feds knocked. Not arrest. Offer. Immunity for testimony. The system. Chewing its tail. New Year's Eve. Alone by the fire. I waited. Revenge's arc bent toward tragedy. Ethan broken. But me hollowed. Or redemption.
Testify.
Fade to normalcy. But normal Smith for girls like us. January thawed the Adirondacks slow. Icicles dripping like tears from the cabin eaves. The world outside my window a watercolor smear of pine and fog. The data dump had lit fuses everywhere. DOJ task forces raiding VC lairs from Sand Hill Road to Canary Wharf. Headlines screaming the great unmasking, how one woman's war toppled titans. Ethan's name drowned in the deluge, his Geneva mea culpa buried under cartel busts that made international news.
Me?
The feds wanted a sit-down. Not cuffs. Material witness, they called it. With visions of book deals and TED Talks dancing in their eyes. I played coy. Lawyer buffering. Buying time to breathe. Breathing. Though, that was the luxury I couldn't afford. Sleep came in fits. Dreams replaying the poison pour. Ethan's confessions echoing like bad acid. Woke sweating. Checking locks. Scanning skies for drones. Paranoia? Or prudence? The envelope photos lingered. Grainy shots of my Elena, guys and Sukes. Time-stamped by ghosts. Ethan's network? Or a Fed stringing me along? I hired a PI. Ex-NYPD, with a Brooklyn bark, Dottie Ruiz. Chain-smoking sleuth who didn't buy my just paranoid line. Kid, she growled over diner coffee. In this game, everyone's got a knife. Yours is just sharper. Dottie's dig turned gold. The photos traced to a pap hack in London. Freelance scum peddling to Ethan's PR machine. No cartel hit, just desperate smears. Relief washed, but trust eroded further. Sierra checked in sporadic, settled in Vancouver. Adjunct gig at a community college. Teaching digital ethics with a wry twist. Irony pays the rent, she texted. We swapped war stories. Her bruises faded to scars. He wrote me, she added. Apology tour. Says he's changed. I snorted emoji, clown face. But doubt-seated, isolation breeds what-ifs. Back in the city by week's end, Manhattan pulsed defiant, Times Square billboards hawking my story rights to streaming giants. Agents swarmed. I signed with a boutique firm. Low-key. No Hollywood gloss. The Fed meet happened in a nondescript midtown conference room. Fluorescent hum underscoring the deal. Full immunity for Ethan's trial. Plus asset recovery, my cut of seized funds. North of a mill. You're a patriot. Harlan, the lead agent said, all gum-chewing sincerity. Patriot. The word stuck, bitter as prison chow. Trial prep sucked me in vortex motions, mocks, marathons of footage review. Ethan extradited kicking, flown cuffed to Rikers. His mugshot viral, hollow cheeks, eyes dead fish. He lawyered to the stars, Alan Dershowitz light. Spinning coerced confessions and entrapment by ex. My role? Star witness. The betrayed turned avenger. Rehearsals with prosecutors. Stick to facts. Tennis. Harlan. No grudges. Easy say. Facts were grudges sharpened. Public frenzy peaked. True crime pods recapping our saga. Merch popping. Poppy's poison mugs, tasteless, but sold out. Controversy crested in op-eds. Vigilantism's double edge. Harlan hero or hazard? Feminists rallied poppy power. Decrying empathy for Ethan, bros countered with Caldwell wronged. Memes of me as fatal attraction redux. Dinner debates turned bar fights. Late-night TV monologues milked the mess. I avoided it all. Holing in a Chelsea walk-up. Coding side gigs for NGOs, ethical hacks. Mending what I'd helped break. Sierra visited once. Train from the north. Her presence a balm. We walked the high line. Weeds pushing through cracks like hope. He's pleading, she said. Breath fogging the rail. Insanity angle. Your obsession as trigger. Rage flickered. But she squeezed my arm. Let the system chew him. You've won the war.
Had I?
Nights. I'd replay the loft mornings, code and coffee. Dreams unpoisoned. Loss layered betrayal, revenge filled the void. But echoes hollow. Dottie's next report chilled. Ethan's cell chatter. Intercepted. Whispers to a guard about, silencing the redhead. Not me, Sierra. Or a plant. I warned her. She laughed it off. But up security cams. Tension coiled. Spring-loaded. Then the flip. A juror leak. Anonymous tip to my team. Ethan's lawyers bribing for mistrial. DOJ swarmed. 2 arrests. But damage done. Trial delayed. Media circus reloaded. February's full moon brought the break. Anonymous drop USB at my door. Labeled truth. Plugged in a air-gapped laptop. Files. Ethan's. Detailing not just crimes, ours. My hacks time-stamped. Serum recipe sourced how.
Blackmail?
Or olive branch. Metadata traced to. Him. From Rikers. Smuggled out. Message embedded. We're the same.
Pop.
Burn it together. Or I burn you. The snake. Flipping last, offer partnership in infamy. Expose mutual sins for leniency. I stared at the screen till dawn. Cursor blinking accusation. Burn it. Destroy evidence. Cop a plea side by side? Or weaponize. Sink him deeper? Moral compass spun. Self-preservation screamed delete. Justice whispered forward. Called Dottie at 6 a.m. She cursed fluent Spanish. Kid. That's checkmate bait. He wins if you flinch, but flinching tempted normalcy. A clean slate unscarred by spectacle. Decided over diner hash. Forward select files to prosecutors. Anonymized my bits. Partial burn, his Ponzi deepened. My role, necessary countermeasures. DOJ lapped it. Ethan's team held tampering. Hearing erupted. Him in orange. Raging at the bench. She's framing me again. Judge banged gavel. Contempt fine. I testified next day. Voice steady. He sent this to intimidate. It's his confession. Not mine. Jury watched. Faces Rorschach. Empathy or suspicion. Post-stand. Ethan caught my eye across the well. Not hate.
Sorrow.
Why? Pop, mouthed silent.
Why?
The question cored me. For the years lost? The name tarnished? Or the girl who'd believed in empires? March snows melted to slush. Mirroring the case, messy. Unrelenting. Sierra ghosted again. Turns out, pregnant. His? I asked in panic text. Maybe. Doesn't matter. Starting fresh. Joy mixed envy. She'd escaped the loop.
Me?
Trial climaxed in closing. Prosecutors painted Ethan monster. Me flawed hero. Defense flipped. Mutual destruction, 2 Ps. Poisoned pod. Jury deliberated 3 days. City, holding breath. Verdict dropped April Fools, guilty. All counts.
25. No parole.
Cheers erupted outside. I slipped out back. Rain slicking my coat. Victory tasted flat, confetti and gutter. Ethan shipped off. Last look a nod. Respect? Or promise? Guard said he smiled. But the twist uncoiled slow. Post-trial. Feds called again. Loose end. Harlan. The USB. Full forensics. Turns out. Embedded code. Worm. Burrowing my devices. Exfiltrating too. A Cayman server. Ethan's? No, Sierra's. She'd played double. Feeding me half-truths. Pocketing data for her own flip. Book deal. The other woman in the war. Advance, 7 figures. Betrayal squared. Rage, numb first, then white-hot. Confronted by a call, she sobbed digital tears. Survival.
Poppy.
You taught me, leverage everything. Fair? Foul? The line blurred eternal. Public never knew. I let it lie. Her secret my last control. But the scar?
Permanent.
Revenge's end. Pyrrhic. Always. Or was it? In the quiet. Coding for good. I rebuilt. Poppy 2.0. Wiser.
Wary.
Empires fall. Ghosts linger. And in America's grind. That's the real hook. Spring bloomed defiant in New York. Cherry blossoms papering the paths of Washington Square like confetti from a wedding I'd never have. The trial's echo faded slow, Ethan's appeals grinding through circuits. My face pixelated on true crime docs that Netflix rushed to air. Unleashed, the Harlan Reckoning, they titled it, with dramatized reenactments of the coffee pour that made me look like a Bond girl gone rogue. I watched one episode in a blackout drunk haze. Remote clutched like a grenade. Critics called it gripping, if ethically murky, mirroring the public pulse. Petitions circulated, pardon Ethan for reform potential, while women's groups lobbied for poppy laws, mandating ethics clauses in startup equity. Controversy's gift. Endless debate.
No winners.
Sierra's betrayal festered quiet. I could have torched her, leak the worm code, watch her 7-figure deal evaporate in scandal. But spite's a cycle. I broke it, deleting the proof with a single command, digital ash scattering to the ether. She knew I'd spared her. A thank you bouquet arrived. Orchids in a crystal vase.
Card blank.
We never spoke again. 2 survivors orbiting separate suns. Motherhood suited her. From afar, Insta glimpses of a toddler with Ethan's dimples. Captioned New Beginnings. Envy?
Fleeting.
Mostly. Pity for the kid inheriting our mess. My life post-verdict? A patchwork quilt of normal stitched with gold thread. The Fed deal netted $1.2 million in restitution. Enough for a co-op in the village and a buffer against the unemployable vigilante tag. I pivoted careers, consultant for privacy nonprofits, testifying on Capitol Hill about data dark sides. Suits nodded. Bills drafted. Impact without the blood. Dates? Sparse. A barista with tattooed forearms. A professor who quoted Foucault over falafel. None stuck. Trusts a muscle atrophied in cages. Dottie became unlikely anchor. Weekly check-ins at her queen's stoop. Coffee black as our humor. You did good. Kid, she'd say. Flicking ash. Broke the will a bit.
Good.
The word chafed. Danbury dreams still jerked me awake. Concrete, cold on my skin. Therapy unpacked it. CBT sessions in a park slope brownstone. Unpacking betrayal like luggage from a crash. You're not the villain, the shrink insisted. You're human. Human. Flawed. Furious. Forged in fire. Ethan's appeals dragged into summer. Humidity turning court docs to pulp. I followed from afar, pacer dings on my phone, headlines blurring. He wrote once. Through channels, no plea. Just pages of reflection. You showed me the mirror.
Pop.
Ugly. But necessary. If there's an after. No after. I burned the letter in a Central Park fire pit. Embers rising like freed sins. Rumors swirled. Prison conversion. Bible study. Whispers of a tell-all ghosted from his cell. Let him write. Words were his weapon. Not mine. The real climax crested in July. Heat wave redux. The city simmering like a pot about to boil. An invite landed. Gala for the Data Rights Alliance. Black tie at the Met. My courage the theme. I hemmed a gown. Crimson silk that hugged like armor. And went. The hall dripped wealth, diamonds on dowagers. Tech bros nursing Negronis. Toasts rang to Poppy Harlan, who dared disrupt the disruptors. Applause thundered. I smiled. Glass raised. But eyes scanned shadows. He was there. Ethan. Paroled early health clause. Pancreatic scare. The appeals court mercy. Suited slim. Hair silvered. But that jawline unbowed. No cuffs, just a +1. Some doe-eyed aide half his age. Our eyes locked across the crowd. Time folding like origami. He approached slow. Murmurs parting like Red Sea. Poppy. Voice same. Velvet over gravel. You look. Victorious. Tension crackled. Guests orbiting oblivious. Ethan. No warmth. No venom, just fact. He sipped water. Clean living.
They said.
I came to say. Thank you. For the push.
Push.
The word hung. Loaded. We talked edges. His cancer scare, real. Per Dottie. My hill wins. No apologies, too late for that. But undercurrent surged. What if? Reboot. Reformed? His eyes searched. Old firebanked. Then the flip his aide tugged. Whispering. He nodded. Turned. Take care. Pop. Gun. Swallowed by the throng. I exhaled. Knees weak. Victory? Or unfinished? The gala blurred speeches,
Schmosses tillislippet.
heels clicking on marble steps. Night air electric.
Outside.
Rain threatened. Clouds bruising the sky. A cab idled. I waved it off, walking instead down Fifth, ghosts pacing. That's when the twist landed, not with sirens, but a call, unknown number. Sierra's voice.
Urgent.
Poppy, he's not reformed. The book's a con codes inside. For his network to regroup. Proof followed, scans of pages, encrypted tips to old allies. The snake, uncoiling from the grave. Rage reignited, but tempered now, no poison.
No hacks.
I forwarded to the feds. Anonymous, once more. Raids hit dawn. Ethan's parole revoked. Aides scattered. No trial this time, just quiet transfer to Supermax. Appeals crushed.
Sierra?
Faded back to Canada. Her deal intact, mutual silence pact. The end?
Nota idibau.
August cooled to fall. Leaves turning as I turn pages. My own book. Not vengeance, but cautionary. Code of Shadows. Bestseller modest. Tours skipping the coasts. I dated steady, a graphic novelist with laugh lines and no secrets. We hiked the Palisades, her hand in mine, Hudson below like a vein of silver. But nights, alone, the what-ifs whispered. Was Ethan the monster? Or me the mirror that made him? Sierra's play, survival or spite. Public debated still. Panels parsing, was it worth it? No answer satisfies. That's the American dark. Tension eternal. Heroes gray as the skyline at dusk. Last hook, a decade on, I'd build a new app for whistleblowers. Armored in ethics. Ethan, rotting quiet. Letters unanswered. Revenge's legacy, not closure, but caution. And in that, maybe grace. Or just the grind, remorseless. I choose the fight. Every time.